On the night the sky split open above the Atlantic and the ocean burned blue, no one in the 13 colonies understood that history had just taken a breath and was about to change its course forever. The year was 1776, but this is not the story you learned in school. In a small coastal village in Massachusetts, where salt clung to the wind and wooden houses leaned as if whispering secrets to the sea, lived a young printer's apprentice named Elias Whittemore. He was 17, thin as a mast rope, with ink permanently staining his fingers and a mind far too curious for his own safety. Elias worked under Master Abigail Turner, one of the few women who ran a printing press in the colonies. She printed pamphlets, broadsides, and sometimes words that made British officers grind their teeth. The press itself was old, imported decades earlier from London, its wooden frame creaking like an elderly conspirator. On the evening the sky burned blue, Elias had stayed late, setting type by candlelight. The shop smelled of oil, paper, and rebellion. Outside, the village buzzed with rumors of war. Redcoats had been sighted inland. Ships crowded the harbor. Every conversation ended in lowered voices. Then it happened. A thunderous crack split the heavens, not like lightning, not like cannon fire, but like the world itself tearing. Elias rushed outside. The entire harbor glowed with an eerie sapphire light. Waves shimmered as if infused with stars. Above them, suspended in the air, hovered a shape like a spinning ring of fire, silent, impossible. Villagers fell to their knees. Some screamed that it was the wrath of God. Others whispered that it was a sign of victory. Elias felt something else. He felt called. Before anyone could stop him, he ran toward the docks. The strange blue light drew him like gravity. The closer he came, the quieter the world became, until even the crashing waves seemed muted. At the edge of the pier, he saw it clearly. Within the ring of light floated an object, metallic, smooth, unlike any ship or machine he had ever seen. And then it fell. The object plunged into the ocean with a hiss, extinguishing the blue fire. The sky snapped back to darkness. The villagers stood frozen, unsure if they had witnessed miracle or madness. By morning, British officers had sealed the harbor. Word spread quickly. Whatever had fallen into the sea, the Crown wanted it. Soldiers interrogated fishermen, confiscated boats, and threatened imprisonment. They called it a weapon, some experimental device from France or Spain. They were determined to retrieve it. Elias could not sleep that night. The image burned behind his eyes. He decided to find it first. 3 nights later, armed with nothing but a stolen compass and reckless courage, Elias borrowed a small rowboat and slipped into the dark Atlantic. The moon hung thin and sharp. He rowed toward the spot he remembered, guided by instinct more than direction. The water was calm, unnaturally calm. Then his oars struck metal. Beneath the surface, something massive rested on the ocean floor, barely submerged. Elias leaned over the side and saw a faint glow pulsing below. Blue, alive. He dove. The water was freezing, stealing breath from his lungs, but the glow guided him downward. The object was shaped like a sphere, smooth and seamless, as large as a carriage. A crack ran along its surface, leaking light. Elias reached out. The moment his fingers touched it, the world vanished. He stood not in water, but in a vast chamber of light. Symbols shimmered in the air, mathematical patterns, constellations, maps of stars. A voice echoed inside his mind, neither male nor female. Observer detected. Cognitive compatibility confirmed. Elias did not understand the words, yet he somehow understood their meaning. The sphere wasn't French, it wasn't Spanish, it wasn't from Earth. Images flooded his thoughts, civilizations rising and falling, empires collapsing into dust, humanity's future branching like thousands rivers. He saw cities of glass, flying machines, towers that pierced clouds. He saw America, not yet a nation, becoming a force that would shape the planet. Then he saw something darker. He saw a future where the revolution failed, where the colonies fractured, where tyranny hardened into centuries of oppression, a world without the promise of liberty that would inspire countless others. The trajectory is unstable. Intervention required. Elias fell back into his body, gasping in the freezing Atlantic. The glow intensified. The crack in the sphere widened. British ships approached. Cannons loaded. Time shrunk to a single decision. Elias grabbed hold of the sphere as soldiers shouted from the decks. Muskets aimed. Orders barked. Fire! The first cannonball struck the water beside him. The second hit the sphere directly. Instead of shattering, the metal rippled like liquid and released a shockwave of blue energy that knocked every ship backward. Masts splintered. Cannons toppled. Soldiers screamed. The ocean roared, and then the sphere dissolved into light, streaming into Elias's chest. The harbor fell silent. Elias floated alone in the water. He was not the same after that night. He could see patterns where others saw chaos. He predicted British troop movements before scouts reported them. He corrected errors in military strategy by analyzing supply routes and terrain with uncanny precision. Master Turner began printing anonymous pamphlets filled with insights that seemed almost prophetic. Revolutionary leaders took notice. A message arrived summoning Elias inland. He traveled secretly, moving through forests and farm roads until he reached a modest headquarters buzzing with urgency. Maps covered tables, candles burned day and night. There he met General Nathaniel Greene, a sharp-eyed strategist burdened by impossible odds. The Continental Army was starving, untrained, and outnumbered. "You're the printer's boy?" Greene asked skeptically. "Yes, sir. I'm told you can predict where the British will strike next." "I can see where they must strike," Elias replied quietly. He laid out a map and began to speak, not of guesses but of probabilities, of supply lines too stretched, of rivers that would freeze too late, of morale tipping points and economic strain in London. He described strategies that would exhaust the British rather than confront them head-on. Greene listened. Weeks later, those strategies were implemented. Battles that should have been losses became narrow escapes. Retreats turned into traps. The war shifted from desperation to endurance. Elias never told them about the sphere. He did not understand it fully himself, but at night, when he closed his eyes, he saw branching futures, some brighter, some catastrophic, and always the voice. Trajectory improving. Maintain course. Years passed. The war dragged on. Victory seemed possible, then impossible, then possible again. In 1781, before a decisive confrontation in Virginia, Elias experienced his most powerful vision yet. He saw a betrayal. A Continental officer, bitter and overlooked, would sell critical information to the British, leading to a devastating defeat. The revolution would falter, negotiations would collapse, independence would die before birth. Elias searched the camp for days, analyzing behavior, listening to whispers. Finally, he identified the man, Captain Silas Harrow, a decorated but resentful officer drowning in debt. Elias confronted him privately. "You think they don't see you," Elias said calmly. Harrow stiffened. "What are you talking about?" "You think the cause has forgotten your sacrifice. You think selling information will secure your future." Harrow's face drained of color. Elias stepped closer. "In one future you are remembered as a traitor. In another you died defending the very liberty you doubt." Harrow trembled. "How do you know?" "I just do." For a long moment, silence hung between them. Then Harrow broke down, confessing everything. The betrayal was prevented, the information safeguarded. The battle that followed became a turning point. The trajectory shifted again. When the war finally ended and independence was secured, celebrations erupted across the new nation. Fireworks burst over cities, church bells rang. Elias stood alone outside the printing shop, watching sparks fade into the night sky. The voice returned, softer now. Primary objective achieved, departure imminent. A pang of fear struck him. Departure? Where? Observer integration incomplete, return required. The blue glow flickered faintly across his skin. Elias realized the truth. He had never been chosen by accident. The sphere had merged with him because his mind, curious, observant, adaptable, fit its design. It had guided humanity before, subtly, across civilizations, nudging trajectories away from collapse. And now it was leaving. "What happens to me?" he whispered. "You remain. Memory will fade. Influence will persist." The light intensified. Elias felt warmth spread through his body, then lift away like mist under sunlight. And then it was gone. He collapsed onto the cobblestones. Years later, Elias became a respected publisher in the young United States. He married, had children, printed debates about the Constitution, encouraged free thought. He remembered nothing of blue fire or alien voices, but he retained something else, an unwavering belief in the fragile power of liberty, a sense that history was not fixed, but shaped by courage and choice. Sometimes, late at night, he would stare at the stars and feel a strange familiarity, as if someone was still watching. Centuries passed. In 1969, as astronauts prepared to step on the moon, a scientist reviewing deep space signals noticed a faint, repeating pulse from beyond the solar system. It matched no known pattern. It pulsed in sequences of mathematical precision. Hidden in those pulses was a simple evaluation: trajectory stable. In 2026, a team studying unexplained oceanic anomalies detected traces of an unknown alloy deep beneath Atlantic sediment, evidence of something that had once rested there centuries ago. And far beyond human sight, in the quiet dark between stars, a vast network of luminous spheres drifted, observing, calculating, waiting. Because humanity's story was never just its own, it was an experiment in possibility, an astonishing, fragile, unpredictable experiment. And on that night in 1776, when the sky split open and the ocean burned blue, a printer's apprentice helped tip the balance toward a future where freedom would echo across the world.